Hello everyone. Welcome to my tutorial. My name is Eddie. This tutorial is co-hosted by Hong Kong PASM and also Vancouver PASM. PASM is a photography club. I think most of you guys might have already heard of it. This is our last class in March. First of all, welcome everybody to watch this tutorial. It has been recently has been a very good day in Vancouver because we have Sakura in here. I hope some of us may have got some chance that we can take some Sakura photos. I'm still waiting for the Gary Point Park Sakura trees to have full blossom. I think it should be very beautiful. I love to take photos of Sakura. It's kind of like my thing. I always love to take those pink color flowers. It's very lovely and I enjoy the scene, and also I feel the like a poetic feeling. So long time ago, I have a chance to go to Japan and take some photos with Sakura and Fuji Mountain together, and it is one of the best days in the past. And anyway, again, welcome everybody into this class. This class will explain more about the what we call the composition for the photography. This idea we can actually apply to not only photography, but you can apply to video as well. So let's start and explain a little bit more about the composition. Composition, why we care about the composition so much nowadays? For one thing, our modern camera is really good at do a lot of exposure, and a lot of things can automatically done by itself. But the thing is, it cannot do the composition for you. You have to do it by yourself as a photographer. So why do we have to care about that? For one thing is, if we understand about the composition and why it's so important, we can tell a better story with the photos. And later on, I will explain two of the most simple one in the composition, so then we know how to use these two fundamental rules to do it. A lot of us might have what we call the artistic eye. They can see something and they know it's good. Unfortunately, some of us, we might not be able to tell why that photo is better, why that photo can tell a better story. So in order to allow more of us to understand the way, so we explain this kind of composition as one of the way to explain to you how human psychology, I should say, actually work. For one thing, actually, let's start with the slide then, okay? Okay. If you have any question about this class, feel free to email to me or leave comment in this YouTube video as well. Okay. So about basic composition, the thing is, what is a photo, or how do we define an artwork or like a drawing? We have some visual art element like line, shape, some empty space, some value, form, texture, and colors. These are like a basic ideas what we have for, or should say, the elements for visual art. And we are saying that the composition is like how we lay out on the photo. So this is a very basic guideline for us to know how we can create a stunning photo, as here said. Okay, so for the first two rules we will talk more today. It's about, the first one is called rule of third. I think many of us might heard of that. And then the other one is called center of composition and symmetry. This two is really useful, and we will show to you about how and why we should use it. Okay, the first thing is what we call the rule of third. Rule of third is a grid laid out like a tic-tac across your photos. So it will be like, as it says, it's more like a tic-tac. Why we use rule of third? using rule of third will draw our viewer's eye, or like whoever want to look at your photos, into the thing that we want them to concentrate on instead of the center of the photo. So for something, it's like it explained by placing the subject off center, so you embrace more blank space, so overall the photo can have more space beside the center object or the pre-center object. And this is really useful to highlight an interesting background. Off-center subject tends to convey more of a feeling of motion than center ones. For one thing, it's like when we read in read a book, for example, okay, most of us we get used to it. It's like we start from the top left corner and then we'll continue like that. So in the rule of third, we can kind of using these ideas and then paste main subject here, as it said, into the grid line, and then also main subject will be also where the main the grid line will cross each other. Okay, so this is a very simple rule of third photos. I think some of us might recognize this one. This is the Lion Gate Bridge. I put the tower on the left hand side, as I say, because we tend to read things from left to right, especially if for Chinese they might have another way from right to left, but most of the time, even in modern Chinese book, they will write from left to right. So the idea is try to put the thing around this area, and this area. So this 4 point will be the major, what we call the interesting point, and our eye will automatically look for it. It's kind of like a basic human instinct. Of course, you say maybe we want to look at center part. If we want to pronounce the center object, we want to suppress the background story. Sometimes it's good to place the object at the center. So like a portrait, like for maybe just a face or maybe a school photo, something like that, you see it will be only in the center part. So this is the idea, to force ourselves to look to other things. For example, this one, we'll try to intend to look at the tower on our left hand side. And of course, this one also have another element of what we call the composition, is the leading line, because I have this kind of cable. So you get the feeling that it's going to the tower. So our eyes also tends to follow lines to go to the tower and look for something on the what we call the rule of third line. And then of course for this one, I put the tower here, the line is also here. So basically, this is the way and idea how we do it. And then we look at the next one. The next one is kind of like a shadow cut or something. It's a photo. I put the sun and the main object on the left hand side as well. And then you can see it gives a photo and an idea. It's like this guy is trying to use his cell phone to look on his right hand side to this magnificent sea view and sunset view. Automatically we can tell tell a story. It's really easy and effective with this way. Imagine if I just have this guy in the center and place the sun in the center, it won't give you a lot of details. You want to look more on the right hand side automatically, because that guy is looking at his right hand side, so we want to see more about what he is looking as well. So this is the way. Here I use a little bit of what we call the other one is called the symmetry or center line. So I put the horizontal horizon here about the center. We put those small island around here, so we get the feeling we want to look at that guy first, and then we want to feel his and get the idea of what he's trying to read and what is his view in the whole picture. So this is the basic idea about rule of third. And I want to elaborate a little bit more. For sure, if you want to put a more noticeable thing, will be like here on the top left crossing area, like here. Okay, it is also okay. You can put it here or here or here. Sometimes it might not be an actual object, like maybe some maybe Hong Kong Victoria Harbour or some seaside. You want to put the horizon line around the lower third, like here, and then the above maybe the sky. So with that, you automatically can sense that it's a very bright sky, and then the sea is around here. Okay. If I do on the other way, I put the horizon line in here instead of the lower part. So I will see more about the land side, maybe about the shore side, so I can see the water going out and a little bit of the sky, not so much. So this is two different stories we are telling about. The first one will be more about a bright sky and very open area. The second one will be more like a confined one, so we concentrate on this shoreline. The first one will be more like I concentrate on more the sky will be beautiful and something like that. So this is the way we use for these three lines. And also, of course, you can it's not a must to actually put everything in the very center of every, like here. Okay, it is okay to offset a little bit. This is something that is kind of like actually what we say, a feeling. I don't really need to put for this photo because I want to concentrate on the sun and his cell phone, so I put his cell phone and the sun around here, this area. I will not put his body on here. So our subconscious mind will try to read this first, and then, oh, it's a guy, and then it's looking out. So this is the basic idea of how we use the composition. It's about how to, what we call very quickly to tell a story to everybody. Okay. And then the next one, about center of composition and symmetry. So this is completely opposite of the first one. This one is like how do we focus? We only want to focus on the main object, only maybe one thing. Okay, actually, as I say, portrait is almost like always we put everything in the center, right? Of course, sometimes we might be put the subject aside a little bit to offset a little bit. So we will wonder what this person is looking on. Maybe he's or she is looking on one direction, and if we leave more white space on one direction, we want to see what is the white space or explaining here. Center composition is like we only want you to look at the center part, especially for portrait model, as I explained. And also sometimes it's good if we have some buildings. Here you say we put the object in the very center. This is what we call the center of composition. The second one is we try to find something symmetric. These two things is also kind of like a human psychology. Okay, for one thing, it's like we love to see symmetric things. For one thing, is because we always see human as balanced left and right. So we love to see everything as balanced as possible, and also or as center as possible. So this is the idea how we laid it out. So this is a very simple photos. I put one of the Cross Sea Bridge in Hong Kong in the very center. So it's really like right in the center of the photo. Okay, this is something. If you want to take landscape, you can do something like that. or this is an underground water storage system in Europe. I forgot is in which city then. Maybe someone can find it out, but I sorry that I completely forgot about that. Okay, you see, I will try to use what we call the symmetry as well. I try to stand as center as possible, and then let like two sides of pillars to create a symmetry. At the same time, it's also you can see a little bit the dark side on the left, and then the right side will be a little bit more bright. It's create a little bit more interesting. For symmetry, it's not necessary for us to really have two sides to be completely identical, but we try to have this to match each other as much as possible. Okay, so basically this is the two fundamental, what we call the composition ideas. I hope everybody enjoy the basic ideas, and if you have any question, feel free to ask. And I have one more thing, it's kind of like a homework. Okay, for here is actually there are a few more different kinds of composition. I just introduced the two, which is the most fundamental ideas to you guys. But if you look at my slide, actually there are tons of more ideas, like frame within frame, leading lines, I explained to you guys already, diagonal and triangles, pattern and texture, rule of odds. Okay, try to screen capture this. And for one thing, look up on the internet and try to understand each of them. This is very important, and it's very fun that you can help you to create and create more kind of photos, and also to let you understand how human psychology work, how we like to embrace the photo, or why we like that one and will not like that one. Then for this, try to do each of them an exercise. Each of them, try to take few photos. If okay, try to share with friends, and then try to explain, okay, this is leading line, do you feel that? Leading line is actually quite easy. Just go to any row and boom, you got that already, okay? And some of them, simplicity and minimalism is a little bit, how to say, you have to get the feeling. You might have to look up online on how to do it. And something like rule of odds is like how maybe maybe let's say I have 10 red color pencil, okay, and then I have only one yellow one, and then we put together and then we took that photo. It's also another kind of rule of odds. It's like, it's very interesting. I will focus on the odd one, like a very strange one. So this is a way they kind of explain to all of us about this composition. And at the end, I want to explain to you guys for one more thing. It's like when we actually doing this kind of what we call the composition or take the photos, these rules are meant to be bent, or I should say it's meant to be broken, okay? We have to sometimes to break the rules. But if some of us may be very beginning of this, I may not get the ideas how to use the photos to tell a story. Follow through this guideline a little bit. Do more exercise. Try to take a photos with that. A lot of our camera, even modern, what we call the modern mobile phone, they might allow you to enable the grid, like the rule of third grids. So we can allow us to align the main object to the crossing area, or I should say crossing line. So use that, take more photos, try to understand the way. And at the end, all these rules is more like, I can't even say it's a guideline. I should say it's an inspiration for you guys. At the end, you have to break all the rules. You have to think of more ways to do it and embrace the change and embrace the new idea, and still you can tell the story with your photos. This is the main thing about how and why you have to learn about the composition. Of course, about the exposure and about how to do the camera triangle, everything, ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. If you like, you can find. I think I have one tutorial done already in the I think last month or January something. Go through that. You can find those information on how to use your camera, and this is about after you learn how to use your camera and how to take decent photos and how to present your photos and present your story. And at the end, video is, you can use, as I say, you can use the similar idea to use on video. If you study like the TV or like a movie, you will find a lot of time the cameraman will try to use rule of third or any of this kind of composition. They will try to use it and explain to you about the story. They try. It tends to follow those rules. For one thing is actually videographer is more difficult than photo. Taking video is more difficult than photo because you can't think for like 5 seconds or 10 seconds to press your shutter. It's like once something has happened, you have to get ready and you have to take it immediately. So this is something that I will say as video is more difficult. So something is good to learn, and then from photos, and also use the same skill set, because when you take a lot of photos, you slowly and understand, and I could say it's will be kind of like a muscle memory. You will know, okay, I will put this subject here and there or whatever, or where I want to put it there. So you can apply the same skill set to videos, and it will allow you to tell a better story on video as well. So hopefully today will let all of you to know more about how to do composition. And as I say, I left some homework for you guys. Hopefully you guys will find some time to go through all of them to do a, how to say, I should say, to find more interesting and challenge yourself, and be able to understand more about how to use a photo to tell a better story. So thank you very much for watching my video and tutorial, and if possible, subscribe to my channel. I know for English channel or English tutorial, we only have 2 sessions per month. I will do my best to keep this on time. Next month, we will explain more about one thing is called auto exposure. And also we'll have more about how to do the exposure compensation, I should say. So auto exposure and compensation, how to do and why, and what is used for, and how to set your camera and something like that. And second one, I think many of us will really want to know is how to do the autofocus. It seems a very simple ideas, but if next time you have more time, it might not waste your time. You will understand way better how and why is to understand about how to use your camera to do the autofocus, because a lot of people doesn't know how and when to use which mode of autofocus. So next 2 class will be about, as I say, autofocus, and the other one will be about exposure compensation. Okay, thank you very much for watching my tutorial today, and hope to see you next time then. Okay, bye bye.